and welcome back to the Show. My name is Aaron, and I'm joined, as always, by my cousin and co-host, the man who once mistook a Vulcan for a Romulan at a Comic Con. It's Landon. What's up, man?
That is true. That is true. I think what's probably more disagreeable is the time that I mistook Ivan Reitman for the guy who played Egon, Harold Ramis.
Oh my gosh,
Remember
how do you
that?
get them mixed up?
I don't know. As a kid, I got him. I think it's because I saw the that Reitman wasn't he part of it? Like he was the director or something? Wasn't Reitman ever? Because then his
Yes.
son did the other one, right?
Yeah, Ivan Reitman directed Ghostbusters.
Yeah. And so I think
Uh,
when I was a kid, I thought Ivan Reitman was him. And so I always walked along that path. And then yeah, until I was corrected.
well, and they were both directors, so
That's true. That is
it,
true.
it
That
would be
might have
easy
been.
to make that mistake because I think Harold Ramis directed more films than he acted in.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. So it's easy to make that mistake.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, Before we dive into today's topic, I want to remind everyone to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon, and that way you're notified whenever we drop our latest content. We've got some exciting episodes coming up, and we don't want you to miss a single one. So today
Would
we're
you mind if I do just a little reminder? If anybody's here for the first time and you're like, what is this show? I want you to know that this show is absolutely nonsense. Nonsense in every single bit of the word between two cousins who would banter at dinner at holidays, back and forth about movies, games, TV, or just general jargon of weird things. And we decided to put a podcast together. We've been doing it for a while. And so we will talk about things like in this episode, we will talk about, Star Trek The Next Generation season 5. In another episode, we'll talk about couch. What is it?
Where's your couch?
Character couch, where we analyze a character that we think is probably disagreeable most often, but sometimes we might emulate someone, but probably disagreeable. Anyway, so that is what we do. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, so like you said, we're doing Star Trek The Next Generation, season 5 this time. Now, if you go into our archives, we've already talked about the first 4 seasons of Star Trek. We've talked about the original series, we've talked about the OG crew and their movies, and now we're into season 5 of The Next Generation. We're gonna look at some of the more important episodes. There's a lot of really good episodes that came out of this season. I'm not sure if you had any like off the top of your head. I made a list, and my list got longer than it probably should be, to be honest with you, because I just love so many episodes that come out of this season. They're just it's brilliant. Is this the best season of the Next Generation, or does it just get better and better as the years go by?
I like the later seasons. I didn't think I liked the last season very much, if I recall. I think I started liking things. Remember how we talked about how the early seasons they were kind of figuring it out?
Yeah,
The first one was kind of like, but it got a popularity. And then two, then you get three, and you're gonna have the Borg situation happen. I think when Locutus happened, I was like, all right, now I'm in,
yeah.
for real. And so I feel like it just kind of crescendoed up through six. And then as we got to seven, I thought I was kind of like more invested in the movies than the show.
Gotcha. Well, so before we get into it, I want to start with a little context. Season 5 aired from 1999, or excuse me, 1991 to 1992, and it saw some major developments both on screen and behind the scenes. Most notably, this was the season when Star Trek creator Gene Roddenberry passed away during production.
Right.
They actually halted filming of the episode Hero Worship when news hit the set. So it was a pretty significant moment in Trek history. Do you remember, I mean, as a kid, hearing about his passing, or is that just one of those things that was just history for you growing up?
Um, I think it was probably because, the time I'm like 10, but I'm watching this on TV now, right? And so I think when I heard, I was like, "Oh, who's that?" You know what I mean? And so that was probably more of my exposure to it.
Those moments where Dad had to explain to me who Gene Roddenberry was.
Oh yeah,
You know, there's probably I'd be willing to bet there was an episode where they did like a title card or whatever that said for Gene or in memory of Gene Roddenberry and
yeah,
the dates of his birth and death. And so Dad probably had to explain to me, "Oh, this is the guy who created Star Trek originally back in the day, and he's been in charge of the series ever since." And so um, yeah, I'm sure really sad day for a lot of the folks behind the scenes there. Um, but it also probably freed up a lot of opportunities for because he was really strict on a lot of the storytelling that came in and out of Star Trek over the years. I remember famously he didn't think there should be any conflict in the future, that the future of the Federation should be this utopia where there is no conflict. I'm sorry, how do you tell a story with no conflict?
no, yeah. The utopian view, I think what happens is you have an idea that has a very practical premise, but then you start to get specific with it, and it has trouble surviving. You know that. So it's okay to say, hey, what if we just got rid of currency, and what if we got rid of, like, I mean, I'm sorry, let's just live the John Lennon song for a minute, right? You know,
Right.
and so but then you start to get specific about it, and you don't want conflict, and it's like, well, but strife, man versus man, man versus nature, it's kind of a part and parcel of telling a story, buddy.
It's funny you mentioned the whole we get rid of currency thing. Uh it's so back and forth. You never know. Like, all right, so is this a an economy that's based on, you know, money or not? Because so often you hear them say, "Oh, we don't have money in the future,"
Oh,
but then there's that in Search for Spock, McCoy's trying to charter a ship to get him to the Genesis planet, and he's going to
yeah,
do so with money. I'm sorry, I
that's
thought there
true.
was no money in the future.
That's a
Which
good
is it?
point.
Which is it?
Well, and then you have what are those little guys with the weird
The
heads?
Ferengi?
The Ferengi, and they're
Yeah,
all about money. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And so,
That's their entire society is based on scamming people out of valuables. And
yeah,
so it's just like, so which is it?
yeah,
Are we a society that is not ruled by our greed anymore, or
yeah,
is that still there? And we still place value on things that that we shouldn't.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's
it's
that's that's off.
it's just funny that they kind of talk out of both sides of their mouth there. So this season also brought us some new characters. Michelle Forbes joined as Ensign Ro Laren. She was initially conceived to be one of the main characters in Deep Space Nine. However, we got to see um, she, I think, wound up not wanting to do commit to a full series when when it was time for Deep Space Nine to come along. So they wound up replacing her character with Major Kira,
Yeah,
which I thought would have been interesting to see what Ro Laren would have done with Deep Space Nine because she's a very different character than Kira. But um, I don't know. Guess we'll never know. We
well,
also saw the return of.
Ro-
Go
oh,
ahead.
I was just gonna say the actress later went on to do a part in Battlestar Galactica.
Hmm.
And so like she's pretty, and she also did was it Star Trek that she came back on something else? She's done
She came back in Picard.
at Picard, that's what it was. She came back for that.
Yeah,
Yeah. I liked her character. She's very dominant, you know what I mean? And I
yeah,
thought she was great.
yeah. I really enjoyed her character and thought that it brought a lot to where they are building out this storyline between the Bajorans and the Cardassians. Having her character there as a Bajoran who has lived under the occupation of the Cardassians for so many years. She's got a chip on her shoulder Um, and so it's really interesting to see what she brings to the Enterprise,
Yeah,
uh, and really butts heads with Riker, uh, and
right.
Picard. But Picard, like, it's almost like he sees something special in her,
Yeah.
and wants to keep her around for, um, I don't know, for her, just the value she brings to the team.
Well, yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so we get Wesley Crusher comes back for a couple of episodes. He is off at Starfleet Academy,
I mean,
and but we get him in a couple of really good episodes. I thought the ones that he shows up in. Um, let's see, where are we at?
we also got Tasha Yar. That was the cliffhanger at the end of the last season, right?
Well,
Yeah.
that's right, but it
Remember?
wasn't Tasha.
I mean, it's not
It
Tasha.
was
It
her
was
daughter.
yeah, the Romulan. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, she had a half Romulan daughter. Um, oh, I can't remember her name though. But man, that was a big reveal when she stepped out of the shadows at the end of that final episode of last season, and to have her come back, and she came back for the unification episodes during this season as well. We'll get to that. Um, Speaking of episodes, let's talk some of the standout episodes. Early on in the season, we have Darmok,
Yeah.
which is often cited as one of the best episodes, not just of this season, but of the entire Star Trek franchise. It's the one where Picard is stranded on a planet with an alien captain who speaks entirely in metaphors.
Yeah.
So he'll say things like Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra, and the universal translator can translate the words but not the cultural context, so they have this like gap in communication while they're facing off with this dangerous creature. They can't communicate with each other, and eventually Picard realizes he's talking with, basically telling stories. And so then Picard is able to tell him stories from Earth, and it really makes a difference in the way they're able to communicate. um
Are you surprised though that they brought back that they had that actor come in? Because I mean I love the actor, but you know remember, he was the one who was like, from Khan that got the earwig thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a
Let's
great
see.
actor, but that was
He
like
was Commander Terrell or Captain Terrell.
I didn't
Paul
remember his
Winfield.
name.
Paul
Yeah,
Winfield was his name. I remember the first time I watched this episode. Yeah, I was younger. Obviously, I was like 11, 12 years old.
yeah. Hmm.
Uh, he The makeup they did was so good. Like, I had no idea that's who it was. Um, and so like it wasn't until later in life I realized, oh, that's the guy from Star Trek 2. Um, but yeah, I thought he did a great job embodying that this alien who isn't really able to make himself clear, and gosh, you can tell how frustrated he gets,
Yeah.
but he wants so badly for Picard to understand him. He's not willing to give up.
It was good to see Spock again.
You see Spock
You know.
in Unification, you mean?
Yeah.
That was, yeah, that was one of the big events of the season. You had this two-part episode where Leonard Nimoy comes back as Spock into the Next Generation,
Vulcans live
which,
a long time.
yeah, that was my first realization that Vulcans uh really do live a long time. Even though we've seen Sarek a couple of times, and we see him again here, like just before he passes away. Um, this episode they used it to pay tribute to the original series and expand the universe by exploring the relationship between the Vulcans and the Romulans. And it's I never thought about it before this either, that that they share a common heritage. um did you know that, like, I know they always look similar, right? Vulcans and Romulans, they've got the same pointed ears, the same
Not
kind of bowl haircuts.
not
um
until Not until the Star Trek, because doesn't Eric Bana say it? Doesn't he say it when he's in the Star Trek remake? Like he mentions it, or something like that. I don't know. I feel like I came to know it later and then look back and I was like, ah, well, they did look similar.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously I'm not versed enough in the extended lore of Star Trek to know at what point in history did the Romulans and the Vulcans break off from each other. Um, but it's crazy to think that it happened years and years before the events of Star Trek. And so, how long have the Vulcans had access to faster than light speed travel,
Yeah, yeah,
Um, because they would have had to have had it centuries ago, generations past, in order for the Romulans to break off and form their own empire over in the Beta Quadrant. So
I've
it's
got to
just
say though,
strange to think about.
this I'd read that this episode happened just right around the same time that my favorite Star Trek movie came out, which was Undiscovered Country. And so you have, the next generation going on while they're still carrying on the movie plots of the Kirk crew, right? And so
Yeah,
it's just kind of cool because you have Spock here and then Spock, in that one as well. And in both cases, a highly diplomatic role. You know what I mean? It kind of meshes well his role here. But that's the way he is, going forward. He's always the ambassador. He's like the one who's, trusted to the point at which you're kind of like you look at this episode and even the conflict and trying to see Spock's effort of unifying the two people, and it's like, well, of course he would. And why are you all questioning at this point in history, after all the things he's ever done and been a part of? Shouldn't he just say something and you all go, well, whatever Spock says? You know what I mean?
right. Yeah, yeah. I
Seriously.
mean, it all starts with they suspect that Ambassador Spock has turned to the dark side or something, and
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah.
Picard, we need you to go in there, alter your appearance, look like a Romulan, and go in there and find out what the heck is going on with Spock because we think he's lost it. What?
Yeah, Spock's crazy. It's like
It's Spock, y'all.
Spock. Let him roll.
Um, so I wanted to ask you about the episode called "The Game." Do you remember this one? Uh,
Um,
for me, it's really important because it's got Ashley Judd in it.
oh, that's the one with Ashley Judd,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
She's,
I had the biggest crush on her as a kid.
of course,
This was one of her first acting roles, and so this is the episode where Riker brings back this addictive video game from Risa,
right.
and it starts to control the minds of the entire Enterprise crew. And Wesley is, I guess on spring break or something, from the academy, and of course it's up to him to save the day.
Yeah,
Um, it was a fun twist on the Wesley saves the ship trope.
yeah.
But a little bit more mature Wesley returning from Starfleet Academy. But I really think that Ashley Judd was the standout there. I
Of
enjoyed her.
course, of
They should
course.
have kept her on there
Yeah,
and a bigger role for the rest of the series.
yeah, yeah. Kind of a
Traded two Rolarans for one Ashley Judd.
That's accurate. Yeah, that was good because the video game that they played. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, she's gorgeous. Yep.
A little bit.
Gorgeous. Let's see. Were there any other ones that were notable that I would say
All right. What about this one? Okay, this one cause and effect.
cause and
Like in the cold open, the Enterprise explodes.
yeah, the time travel one.
Yeah, you get
Huh.
this time loop thing.
Yeah,
That for me has one of the most memorable openings in Star Trek history. You open up with Picard saying, "All hands abandon ship. All hands abandon."
yeah,
You got nothing. You got no explanation why this is happening, and then suddenly everything's okay when you come back
yeah,
from the opening credits. Like, what is this? But it's brilliant the way that they keep reliving the day over and over again, and they're able to figure out what's going on.
This one was is one of the most watched episodes too, according to a Nielsen rating. Um, so and Kelsey Grammer, he was in it, right?
He shows up at the end, kind of a cameo. He's the captain of the USS Bozeman, which is they've been
The
caught in
one
the time loop
the one that's
for
right.
almost a century.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So they've got a lot to catch up on. Fun fact: they didn't get Kelsey Grammer to come back to voice him, but the captain, I can't remember his name. They gave him a name, uh, but his character does show up in Lower Decks.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, you see him at one point where he is still active in Starfleet, in the Next Generation timeline there, but in the animated series. So it was a neat little callback.
I'm trying to think if there were any other ones that I liked. Mm, no,
Dude, I've got a couple more
tell me.
that like really hit me. Okay, so the next one, I don't know if I like it as much as like an episode that stands out, or if it's more of I like what they did with it, and I wish they had done more with the characters they introduced.
Yeah,
So that's the first duty. So again, this is a Wesley episode, but this time we go to see him at Starfleet Academy. He is a part of this flight crew that is doing a. They're supposed to do a big um I don't know, demonstration for I don't know, Academy Day or something like that. But they have an accident and one of their crew members is killed, one of the other cadets. And so um they try to cover it up. Like they because they've been doing something, they're doing a stunt that they weren't supposed to be doing. And so the guy who winds up getting killed had been saying he wasn't comfortable doing it, but they kind of peer pressured him into doing it anyway, and then
yeah,
he's the one who wound up dying.
yeah.
And so the leader though of these cadets was gosh, I can't remember what his character's name was, but he was played by Robert Duncan McNeil, who went on to play Lieutenant Paris in Star Trek Voyager.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Who like and Paris was very similar to this character, and there's a part of me that's like, why didn't he just play the same character
I know, really. I know.
on Voyager?
Why do you think that is? And I actually liked his character in Voyager.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah.
what do you think? And by the way, when I think about like him and his career, he's done a few things from us growing up that were here and there roles. I thought he was going to become a bigger actor, like more.
Dude was in Masters of the Universe.
I know, I know.
That's probably not the one he wants to put on his resume though. The I think I read somewhere that the writer of this episode, I don't know if they had a falling out with Paramount or what happened, but because they had the rights to the character that he played in this episode, uh, they if they had reused the character in Voyager, they would have had to pay the writer royalties every time they used his character in Voyager. So for every episode of Voyager,
That's why they didn't do it.
they would have had to pay him. So it was like,
Yeah,
no, we're not going to do that. We'll just create a
yeah.
new character, and basically he's the same guy. Um, but yeah, I thought that was a really, really good episode with a lot of I mean, he pays some consequences. And again, I thought it would have been great if the Paris character had actually been this guy, and it would have made a whole lot more sense. But again, behind the scenes, I get why they made that decision, because that you know a studio is going to save themselves money as much as they can.
Right, right.
So another one we've got is I Borg, where the crew
Eh,
finds the young Borg drone.
eh.
Well, it, it's not an exciting episode, but I mean, it's important because you've got this character, Hugh, who is just a Borg drone, but he becomes an individual during his time that he spends on the Enterprise, and they send him back, and it really screws with the Borg. And so this
That's
sets up
that's
what
true.
becomes a big plot point at the end of season six.
That's true.
So
That's
so
true.
you gotta keep that in mind. And then Hugh shows up again in the first season of Picard,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which was really good.
That's true.
Um,
You can't discount that. Although the episode itself, I was like, here's the reason why I go, is because when I'm like Borg, I'm like, all right, here we go. You know what I mean? And this is just like, oh, Borg,
Borg.
Borg, you know?
All right. Now this one we're about to talk about is probably one of my favorite episodes of the entire series.
Oh, here we go. Which
The
one?
Inner Light. Do you remember
The
this one?
Inner Light. I don't remember this one.
So
Wait,
this is the one.
tell
The
me, I'll
Enterprise
probably.
encounters this probe out in space, and Picard gets zapped by the probe, and he winds up living an entire lifetime as this guy named Kamen, a man on a
Oh,
dying planet. And
yeah.
in reality, only 25 minutes pass for the Enterprise
Oh,
crew.
right, right.
It
I
won a
remember
Hugo
that.
Award, and it showcases some of Patrick Stewart's finest acting. And that
Yeah.
scene at the end where he plays the flute, I tell you what, I mean, it makes me tear up every time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, that's right. That's right. Oh, that was an epic episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Huh.
And then, of course, you get the season finale with Times Arrow, which I thought was weaker than a lot of the cliffhangers that you get with these season finales. But they do go back in time to the 19th century and meet Mark Twain, so there's that.
Yeah.
Eh.
Eh, you know.
Uh, Anything else from season five that you that stand out to you, man?
No, I think by this time, I was more invested in the character development than I was necessarily in the plot points. And then I just skip certain episodes,
Mm.
that were in continuity. And it kind of that's one of the things about Star Trek that I really liked is some shows have the ability to do one-off episodes, but then they have episodes that tie into the bigger plot, and then they go back and forth and do that. I really like that Star Trek: The Next Generation did that. Because it almost tied you over a little bit, and then if you started to feel stale, you just had some episode come that was either a multi-parter or it would tie into a greater narrative or something reminiscent. And so I feel like they had their stride by this point, in this one and the next two seasons.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for the series that can be episodic, right, and not necessarily have this serialized thing where you have to watch every episode.
Yeah,
Like,
you don't have to do that with Star Trek.
yeah,
You
with
really
Next
can
Generation, you
pop
can
in.
come back to it and be like, "Oh, I missed last week's episode. I don't know what happened. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have any
Yeah,
effect on
it
this week."
doesn't matter. Yeah.
Um, so let's shift gears to our pop culture pulse segment. Star Trek has been in the news lately with, um, oh shoot, no, it hadn't. I was gonna say with the Picard series, but that was several years ago now. Um, and it's like all three seasons have come and gone on Paramount Plus.
Well, I was going to ask if you had any updates on Strange New Worlds
Wish it
as
would come back sooner than later. I thought it would be back by now.
as we eagerly await.
Yeah, season
You
three
know,
of that, and I know they're already filming season four. So I don't know what the holdout is.
I know.
Um,
I don't need to see another Discovery episode ever.
well,
But
it's done.
oh, it's done. Okay, good.
It's done.
I don't know. I don't think I finished it, so I've got to
Did
finish
you
it.
watch? Did you watch the Section 31 movie?
I started it. I got 15 minutes in and had to turn it off because I felt like I was losing my ability to concentrate on, meaning of life. I mean, it was it, it the it was rough. It was rough the dialogue, just even the first 15 minutes. Tell
Yeah.
me, tell me, did you push through? Are you
I
okay?
no, so I did the same thing. I watched the first maybe half hour of it and I wasn't really invested. I wasn't paying attention. I'm gonna have to force myself to watch it at some point just so I have the content and I know it. But it's not something that is on my to-do list. I've got to get this done. I need to watch it so that I know what happens next. Um, I'm curious, yeah, but I'd almost rather go into Wikipedia and read somebody's synopsis of it
Yeah.
than actually pull it up on Paramount Plus and watch it again.
Let me put it this way. I'm probably more likely to have a medley of squash, lima beans, and okra shoved down my throat while having my eyes taped open watching the newest Snow White movie than I would watch this.
Seriously, why did they give her Lord Farquaad's hair? What is that about? Come on, Disney, grow up. Uh, all right. So, where are we at? Let's move on to the recommendation corner. Since we've been talking a lot about season 5 of TNG, uh, let's talk about a little companion piece that old Bill Shatner directed, a documentary called Chaos on the Bridge. Have you ever seen this?
No, I saw
It's
Captain's
actually
Corner or Captain's Chair, but I
Yeah,
never.
Captain Stewart was pretty good.
Yeah.
Where he goes and interviews all of the different Star Trek captains. Um, but this one, Chaos on the Bridge, it highlights a lot of the behind the scenes tensions during the early years of Next Generation.
Oh,
So some
really?
Yeah, so some of that stuff we were talking about with Gene Roddenberry
Yeah.
earlier, a lot of that gets highlighted here. Gene Roddenberry and his kind of cronies in the background,
Yeah.
having their little feud with the writers and the other producers, and it's actually really interesting and really well done, I
On
thought.
Paramount? Where's it at?
I think you can find it on Paramount Plus. I should have written that down. I know it's available to see for free somewhere. Hang on, just one second. Let me find it.
While you're looking at that, I do have a recommendation that will not be a popular recommendation, apparently, according to like Rotten Tomatoes and all that stuff. But I really liked Electric State. I enjoyed the new little Netflix movie with Millie Bobby Brown and good old Chris
Chris Pratt.
Pratt. Yeah, I liked it. I mean, but I walked into it feeling like it might be campy and fun, you know? Did you see it yet?
No, no, I heard it was bad.
On Netflix. So Electric State just came out, but it didn't have the best reviews. People thought it was too predictable and not enough character development. I didn't walk into it for an extreme character development. I thought it was just a fun movie. So
Go in with
recommended
low expectations.
by
You can come away with anything.
that's true. But you have to ask yourself if you're willing to go solo for some movies like Snow White or Shazam 2.
Hey, easy. Uh, Although there is a common thread there between those two movies. So
I know there is. They both suck.
talking about Rachel Zegler, she's
Oh,
in both movies.
sorry. Sorry. Yes. Yes. That could be the factor. That could be the common factor.
Could be, could be. I don't know. Although West Side Story was pretty good. I don't know.
That is true. It is a lovely singing voice.
It's Chaos on the Bridge is available on Amazon Prime, so you can watch that if you have Prime.
Prime. Prime.
I believe it's also on Tubi, which is free. Tubi and Pluto TV are both free services that have it available. So there you have it. And thank you for that recommendation of Electric State. I'll have to check it out, even though I have not heard anything good about it until just now. Um, Usually we would take some time to answer questions from our audience, but we still don't have any new communication from our audience. But we, took kind of a long hiatus, and so it might take folks a little bit to find us and remember that we're back. So no questions for today's episodes. no comments that we can point out from our three fans. So I guess that just means we talk about more Star Trek, right? No, we're done.
Well, I
Seriously,
think we're done.
we would love to hear from you, our amazing listeners, our viewers. Leave comments below the YouTube video on the podcast page, or send us a message through any one of our social media links that you can find us. We love getting emails, and if all else fails, I do accept carrier pigeons. I've got a
Ah,
cage up on the roof.
there you go. There you go.
Just no Klingon messenger birds. They are vicious.
It's also a lot to clean up.
It is. It's a lot. Poop everywhere. Uh, all right. So we are always excited to read comments and to answer any questions you might have for us. The show is all about the back and forth, so don't be shy. Uh, that wraps up our deep dive into season 5 of Star Trek: The Next Generation. Next week we are shifting gears. Landon, you mentioned earlier we're doing a character couch, and a lot of times we try to put our amateur psychology hats on and look at beloved TV and movie characters to find out what makes them tick. And our next one is a real doozy. We're going to be analyzing none other than Bella Swan of Twilight fame. That's right, we're diving into the psyche of everyone's favorite vampire obsessed teenager. What do you think, Landon? Are you Team Edward or Team Jacob?
Oh, I'm not team either. No, I'm team neither. That would be team neither.
Attaboy.
Um, yeah, I think there were other kids out there that were worth, not having a codependent relationship with. So, yeah,
It's so toxic, but we'll get into that next time.
yeah.
Uh, that's going to be a fun one to talk about. So be sure to tune in next time. And thanks so much for listening. Landon, any last words before we move out?
No, other than let's see, what's Jason Bateman say? Any last words? Ventriloquist.
Dermatology.
Oh, dermatology. That's it. That was
Yeah, I
it.
got one. It's a big one. Dermatology.
Dermatology. That's a good commercial. No, that's it for me. Have a good one, all.
Remember to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon, and as always, have a great whatever it is, wherever you are.